Hey everyone, my name is Charlie, and today I have a library haul for you. Today, for the first time since March 2020, I chose to return to the library. Last night, they announced the Booker long list, and Charlie got in touch with me. She says, which ones am I interested in? And how she'd already started reserving them at the library. And me, being me, I'd completely forgotten that the library is actually a physical space, somewhere tangible in which I can go and get books. So I immediately get on and start searching the catalogue, and I reserve a few that I can get from BorrowBox. But I see that they've got one on their shelves. I've no interest in Clara and the Sun, by the way. I said, it read to me like Toy Story fanfic. I DNF'd it, I won't be going back. But more power to anybody who enjoys it. Now, they had one book from the long list at the library, and that was the reason that I went. And that book is China Room by Sunjeev Sahota. I actually have no idea what this book is about. Another caveat is that I actually don't know what a lot of the books that I have borrowed from the library are about. It has been so long since I'd visited the library that I was a bit like a child in a toy shop, just searching for all the authors I've liked over the last few months and bagging what I could. So, this book right here, when I've seen the cover, I believe I have a Kindle edition that I got from NetGalley months ago, because, being the reader that I am, I gather all of these NetGalley editions and then I never read them. Here we have a breathtaking novel of love, oppression, and the pursuit of freedom. China Room twines together the stories of a woman and a man, separated by more than half a century, but united by blood. No idea what that means. But either way, Miha is a young bride in rural Punjab in 1929. She and her sister-in-laws are married to 3 brothers in a single ceremony and spend days hard at work on the family farm, and they have no contact with the men. Well, so far things are sounding good, aren't they? Apart from the old marriage part and the hard work, but you know, being sequestered away from men, it sounds like a good idea. So Miha's going to get passionate, and we all know that passion in 1929 was just frowned upon. And then we're going to see a story of a young man in 1999 who's going to travel from England. 1999, one of my favourite years. Pretty sure that was the year that I got to see Power Rangers in space, because I used to have to wait till it came on CITV. And wasn't that just a revelation for us all? It's up there with the final scene from Peak Practice as the final scene, well, one of the final scenes, the climax to Power Rangers in space is that. So this guy's got traumas from his adolescence, haven't we all? He's got addiction, apt, racism, no experience of that personally, obviously completely against it, but he's estranged from the culture of his birth, and he's going to spend a summer in painful contemplation and recovery. Now that I can empathise with. And this is apparently inspired in part by the author's family history and told with courage, compassion and deep humanity. Well, that just makes me feel mean. But hey, it's much shorter than The Year of the Runaways, which I never actually got round to reading and unhauled from my shelves. I got it back in the day when you pay £30 and the book people would send you a box of all the shortlisted books in hardcover. And that was the year that A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James won, because it also happened to coincide with my first year on BookTube. Before I maligned the Booker altogether, like this year, you know. I was saying this to Charlie, I said, I don't know any of the books that are on the long list, apart from Rachel Cusk's Second Place, if that's what it's called. I've ordered that on BorrowBox because I'm enjoying Rachel Cusk at the moment, but I'll talk about her more in a minute. I also went to the library with another book in mind, which was Hilary Mantel's A Place of Greater Safety. This is more historical fiction from Hilary Mantel, this time with the French Revolution, and we have a book here that is 872 pages long with a note at the end of it. But I'm talking about Hilary Mantel here. And whilst I know that I'm about to enter into August, where I'm more likely to be in charge of the shop as my manager is away for a fair amount of time, I'm still reading the Brothers Karamazov with Emily of Novel Novels. I'm throwing out my TBR for these books, folk, because quite honestly, I've always said TBRs don't work for me. Whilst I plan on getting to the books I mentioned in July at some point, I can't actually remember any of the books I put on my TBR. So I'll get to them one day after I've read Hilary Mantel, because as I've said, I'm liking Hilary Mantel this year. I haven't read a book by her yet this month, and I just want to consume all of the literature of hers that I can find. And I think getting the more epic ones out the way first might prove to be a good idea. Here we have, as I say, French Revolution. I nearly said resolution. So a guy called George, someone called Camille. The revolution's going to destroy their lives. I imagine it's probably going to be told with some of the similar style that I saw in the Wolf Hall trilogy, which, you know, I never got around to doing the review. It might come one day, it might not. I had a lot of thoughts, especially around how historical fiction, specifically Tudor times, execution was a very, very real form of cancel culture. So do we want to talk about how cancel culture has always existed? It's just that back then it was just a way of shutting people up that you didn't like. And now cancel culture's working in the opposite direction than it did originally, where then it was the rich just like, I don't like you anymore, you're dead. And now it's kind of like the more common people can use their words to hold people accountable for shit. I don't know, but a place of greater safety. In the same vein of Hilary Mantel, I then chose to get the other books out of the library that I have yet to read, which meant Learning to Talk, which is short stories. Here we have stories that all seem to be from child narrators. It's very short. It's 160 pages. I could probably read this today. I won't be doing because I'm trying to finish Terry Pratchett's Thief of Time, but I also got The Assassination of Margaret Thatcher by Hilary Mantel, and I remember people having a go about this title when it first came out. I enjoy the short story form, but it's not something I've read much of outside of uni, which is strange. Last month I read The Picture Goers by David Lodge, so I just again went to see if the library had any books by him, and they did. They had The Man Who Wouldn't Get Up and Other Stories, and this reminds, the first story, the title story here, reminds me of The Woman Who Went to Bed for a Year by Sue Townsend, and seems to deal with similar themes, because this man has fallen out of love with life, and so he's refusing to get out of bed. And that was really what The Woman Who Went to Bed for a Year was about. And I read this book thinking, oh, it's a really comedic text, and then forgot about all of the undertones that were to do with depression. And I think I'm going to see that here. David Lodge I find quite humorous, and not only this book, but Small World, the other book I got of his, seems to be another comedic novel. And I did, as I say, with The Picture Goers, found them humorous, and that they dealt with a period of time that I'm enjoying reading about at the moment. This book was apparently shortlisted for the Booker Prize and came out in 1984. It says on the back that it almost works... No, it says within, in the author's note, it says that Small World is a kind of sequel to his novels Changing Places. Hopefully I will be able to read it without having read that one, for they did not have that available at my library, and I did not care to find out whether I could order it. I've just remembered that I reserved a copy of another book today, and that cost me £1, and I've no idea what I reserved now. Speaking of sequels, I got Transit and Kudos by Rachel Cusk. Despite not having read Outline, the fact that the library did not have Outline, it did not even have Outline available on BorrowBox, I got them. And I'm hoping that I can find Outline as a Kindle edition, or at the very least reserve it from the library. I don't know, maybe drive to another town within my area and just say, hi, can I have this please? Or, you know, bookshops exist, but I'm borrowing a lot at the moment. Or charity shopping. We will see. Then I got Lewis Percy by Anita Brookner. I should say, oh, well, I've just found out. Let's go back to outline. Hilary Mantel actually blurbed Rachel Cusk. Isn't that good? Hilary Mantel, Rachel Cusk. All my writers that I'm liking at the moment are liking each other too. No idea what the outline trilogy is about, but someone did mention somewhere that there might be something autobiographical about it. And with David Lodge's Small World, it's apparently about jet-propelled academics and the mundane being made funny. We will see. Lewis Percy by Anita Brookner. So, Sarah of Hardcover Hearts, Leo of A Little Book Life, they have their Anita Brookner project ongoing. I feel like they recommended Lewis Percy at one point. They might have hated Lewis Percy. I don't know. It's the only one my library had. So he's innocent and an idealist, and the death of his mother leaves him alone and exposed to a world he had previously been sheltered from. Unsure whether it is love or companionship he seeks, he finds it difficult to commit to anything but his job at the library. Surrounded by women who think they'll have his best interests at heart, Lewis wonders if he will ever break free from the shackles of expectation, if only someone would help him find the courage he needs to face the world. Oh my bloody Christ. Ugh. Well. That sounds fun. My Christ. Lewis Percy worries me because it sounds as though it's asking me to feel empathy for the character, because we may have slightly similar situations. I mean, I'm not a librarian and I'm not waiting for family members to die, but there is this almost loneliness that I'm sensing from the blurb. Sadly, however, I did give up human emotion many years ago. I've repressed emotions so much now that I live in an eternal sort of apathy. And this might try and get beneath the skin. I mean, it can have a go. Finally, I picked up Homestretch by Graham Norton. All I know about this book is that there is a tragedy and the character of Connor moves from Ireland to London, and I believe that there is maybe some discussion of sexuality and hiding the sexuality and found family and that sort of thing. People whose opinions I value have enjoyed this book, and because of that, I want to pick it up. Also, I have the other two Graham Norton books on my Kindle, you know, because that whole NetGalley thing I mentioned earlier. So it might finally be the time for me to actually get one read. And then the books. I did also want to say that if you can get your books out of libraries, then please do so, because in just speaking about the UK, a lot of people won't get books out of the library because they think that it's not supporting the author. But there is a fund set aside, the PLR scheme, where authors receive an amount of money every year based on the books of theirs that have been borrowed from libraries. In my first year as a writer, that really helped me substantially financially. However, in subsequent years when my books haven't been borrowed so much, it has meant that the PLR are currently holding on to a bit of money of mine because you have to make more than £10 for them to pay out, and the last few years I have not done so, and it's a shame. If my books aren't available at your libraries, please do go and ask your librarians whether they will order them, because my books are available to order and it would be a great help. However, if you are ever concerned about not being able to purchase an author's book, oftentimes libraries are free to get a membership card, and you will be helping the author out by borrowing their books from libraries. And libraries aren't just about the books, they can be community spaces, and they can help more unfortunate people find jobs, get educated in ways that they want to be educated. They provide classes, they provide spaces for mothers to take their children and provide care there as well in that way. And they're also helping more disadvantaged children to, you know, learn to read and to develop a love of literature and books. It's just great, really, and I would hate to see more libraries close. But either way, support your library, and I'm off. If you think I should prioritise any of these books over others, then please feel free to let me know in the comments. Similarly, have you read any of these books? Have you liked or disliked them? Let me know your thoughts. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and until next time, that is all.